If your company has a flexible workspace model, chances are you would have spent several hours working at one of WeWork's several locations across the country. I'm in one of those here in Bangalore for this special episode of The Weekender because this has been a landmark year for WeWork. It completes 5 years here in India and operationally it has been one of its best years here just yet. So we're here to catch up with its young CEO Karan Virwani to talk about the business outlook and if the coming year is going to be any better. Hi Karan.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thank you for your time on The Weekender.
Thank you so much.
You mark 5 years this year. It's the end of the year. So I just wanted to start by asking you what the journey has been like because, you started and then there was a pandemic. Nobody would have seen that.
Right.
So in this very short journey, there must have been some highs and lows. So if you could take us through how it's been working here.
Yeah, it's been honestly a crazy ride. We started 5 years ago in 2017 with our first building on Residency Road in Bangalore. And since then, not only has it been a crazy journey building the business, but a lot of external stuff that's happened, to us. That's made it
WeWork
a lot.
Global?
Yeah, I mean, not just that. I think, the pandemic to also begin with, which had its impact on the business. And then I think prior to, that, there was the NBFC crisis in India as well, which had an impact on our business.
Yeah.
So we have gone through, a decent amount of challenges just in 5 years. But today, we sit with really strong business. Our business is almost 6 million square foot, across of office space across the country. We have about 41 locations that we've opened in the last 5 years, and about 60,000 members that are within our spaces at any given point in time. And our buildings are about 90% full now. So, to kind of see us, we were spiking a lot between 2017 to 2019, and then the pandemic hit, and suddenly there was this huge vacuum, and we were not used to our spaces being, how empty they were. But today, to see life back in the spaces, to see that the segment itself has grown so much, and COVID has just completely flipped the switch on people's adoption towards this type of model for work.
You've summarized my first 10 questions, but let me try and get more out of you in terms of operationally the year has been a good one for you. You've finally turned profitable, and I won't say finally actually because it's only been 5 years. But is this kind of growth trajectory now going to be sustainable? What kind of revenues are you currently clocking in?
Yeah, for sure. So we were actually profitable just before the pandemic hit as well, and that year would have been a great year for us if it hadn't happened. So it took us about 18 months to recover from that. And since last November, we have been profitable as a business. And we ended this year with close to about 180 crores in profit and EBITDA this calendar year, and about 1,300 crores of revenue.
And that revenue is almost doubled from last year? Almost?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like 70% up from last year. And just in the last 5 years, it's grown 46 times.
Okay, but what is driving this kind of a growth? Because you're coming on a smaller base also, because last year would have been harder because of the pandemic.
Yeah. So I think that the biggest change that we've seen is a huge amount of adoption to the model from large enterprises that has, surprised us, I would say, over the last 2 years. Companies that probably never considered flex as a way of working or an option are doing it already, and then they're coming in a big way. And at the same time, I think the Indian ecosystem itself has matured a lot, as well as, companies are actually building good businesses. So those businesses have actually grown within our spaces. You know, a lot of businesses who started off with 3-4 desks, you know, now 100, 200 people companies. It just shows the strength of the Indian ecosystem and like what's happening in India. And Indian entrepreneurship, I think, is...
We'll get to what's happening in India and how that impacts your business. But, you know, compared to what happened during the pandemic time, footfalls, occupancy levels, how have they changed pre-pandemic and from the pandemic? What has been the uptick, so to speak?
So, honestly, this is the highest occupancy we've ever had.
In your 5 years?
In the entire 5 years.
Okay.
And we've seen actually footfall come back also to pretty much pre-pandemic levels. But there is definitely a change in behavior and how people are working. People are doing, are much more flexible during the week, and companies are also giving that flexibility. So you'll actually see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as like the most amount of footfall in the buildings, versus Monday and Friday is much lighter.
What do you do with the building on the weekends?
We have members actually who work, Saturdays and Sundays. And actually one of the things that came out of the pandemic as a revenue stream for us is shoots, like movie shoots and TV show shoots. Exactly. So you might have seen many shows now that have our office in the background. And actually that's, just showing an interesting trend of what even people perceive as the office versus what it used to be,
Tell me, in terms of your expansion plans, you said about 6 million square feet of office space as of now. Where do you hope to go in the next 1 year? A number of desks that you're looking to add, and will you continue to be in these 6 locations only?
So as a brand, our focus continues to be in the metro cities. That's for the near term or, near to long term, that's really where we want to be. We see most of the demand and the, type of talent that our, the companies that house within a WeWork space will continue to grow in these sort of 6 cities. So we want to continue to be there. And in terms of expansion, by March, basically by the end of this financial year, we'll be at about 75,000 desks, which is that 6 to 6.5 million square foot. And we'll be adding about 20,000 desks in the following year. So, by the next financial year, which is FY 23-24, we should end at between 95 to 100,000.
Okay, and I read somewhere that you have some sort of a heat map to see where the demand is going to come from, and accordingly you'll set up, WeWork offices in those locations, something of that sort?
Oh, no, so we are trying to understand our users better within the space. So we are, we've partnered with StackU to run a spatial analytics program that uses a lot of the CCTV footage that we have in the buildings to tell us whether the spaces we've designed are actually being utilized the way that we thought they would be utilized. So a common area space where we've maybe put a lounge or, a huddle space, is it actually being used in that manner, or, is it not being used? And in the future, can we, shift that around to make it something that actually would be more usable? And also when we design future buildings, to make our design a lot more user-friendly and efficient. That's what we're trying to do with that. So trying to use technology as much as possible to deliver a better member experience for our members.
So within these 6 cities that you're currently present in, all the metros, where do you see higher demand? Where has demand been hit because of the pandemic? Where has it not come back? Where has it sprung back?
So if you see a demand, I think has always been very strong within the south compared to any part of the country. So that's Bangalore and Hyderabad, drive a big chunk of the demand. India leases close to about 45 million to 50 million square foot a year. And usually Bangalore does between 14 to 16 million of that. So, pretty much like 1/3 or, 40% of the stuff is happening in Bangalore. Our growth markets are going to be Hyderabad, Pune and Bangalore for a large chunk, as well as Noida and Gurgaon.
That's everything.
But I would say predominantly more towards Bangalore, Hyderabad and Pune.
I see. And wouldn't you need capital, to make good on these expansion plans that you've laid out for us? Are you in the market to raise capital?
We do always need capital, and it's, earlier when we were trying to build a business, we had a lot of operational burn, and we were obviously, not profitable. Since the last 12 months, the business is generating good amount of cash flows, and we're actually able to cover all of our business operational expenses as well as any financing that we've actually taken. So for future expenses, CapEx is going to be required, and we have cash flows to be able to sustain that.
How much CapEx would be required for future expenses?
I think for this year we would, for the following year would be up close to about 300 crores.
300 crores. Okay.
About 50%, more than 50% of that actually comes from our landlords who are now partnering with us.
Eventually, do you see WeWork in India going public?
I think any entrepreneur would love to do that, and the business.
Not all.
Well, at least our business is very conducive for it, and we've not really chosen a path as yet. But obviously, some sort of big event in the near future, in the next 12 to 24 months, is something that we will need to do, purely just to give a return to our investors in terms of the capital that
So
they put
that
in.
big event in the next 1 or 2 years is going to be an IPO?
It could, or it could just be another private round, if we chose to do that.
Do you think as a startup it's harder to raise capital at the valuation that you want? Are you looking at debt also as one of the routes to perhaps extend your runway before you go public or raise money?
Yeah, like I
private?
said, our runway is good. We have enough cash in the bank. We are generating cash as a business as well. So that way we're fine, and we do get low-cost debt for some of the capex that we do.
Yeah.
These are more asset-light structures. However, and that's really all we need money for.
What about the global company WeWork? It last infused capital into WeWork in India in 2020, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
Will it be infusing more capital anytime soon? What the plans are?
No, I don't think so. We don't have any need for that to actually happen right now. So we're in a good place. Luckily,
You're in a
touch
good
wood.
place. You're in a good place. Touch wood.
Yeah.
But WeWork Global, not so much, right? They're burning through a lot of the cash that they've raised from SoftBank. They're in debt. Losses have been narrowing to an extent.
Yeah.
But the recession in the US, the tech layoffs that have been happening, all that doesn't augur well for business.
Yeah.
Are you concerned at every level? Is it going to impact operations in India as well?
I am not concerned at all. I really can't comment on WeWork Global. All I can tell you is that I know that every single market is actually following suit to where we are right now, in the sense that people are coming back, occupancies are filling up, and it's a matter of time before they reach also pretty high occupancy levels.
Yeah.
The adoption that we're seeing in India is happening at a global level and not just here. I think that we are just a little bit smaller than some of the other markets, so it was a lot easier and faster for us to get there, and we did focus a lot more on our unit economics right from the start. However, that being said, Europe is doing amazing, Japan is doing incredible, Latin America I know is doing incredible.
But right now, given that startups are a big customer for you,
Yeah.
right? And with what's going on with them, there's layoffs, there's restructuring, in the worst cases they're shutting down your businesses
Yeah.
as well. How has that impacted business for you?
So, it's interesting, right? When things are super uncertain, our model actually makes the most sense. It moves people away
Flexibility.
from having more
capital.
fixed and traditional and capital intensive type of to a much more flexible, asset light, scale up, scale down type of solution, which is very much needed when things are very, very, very uncertain. And I think that's what happened through COVID. People started to realize that they were holding on to all of these spaces that they couldn't go to, and then they were paying for it. And so those type of customers are coming to us.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think as recession or things of a negative nature hit, as a company and as culture, you tend to huddle rather than not try to be together. And the office has always been that place, and it continues to be the space where you would come to.
Are you saying you've remained immune to all of these restructurings, the shutting down of several businesses, the layoffs that have happened in the startup community?
We've not seen any big impact. Obviously, few organizations that were with us have let go of people, but there's lots of companies within our space that are actually growing. So when we look at our member base, there's way more growth than there is, any sort of like reduction.
What about your on-demand and some of your digital offerings?
Yeah.
How are they doing in this environment?
Honestly, that business completely shocked me. It was thing that came out of the pandemic. It was a way for us to try to generate something during the pandemic and try to get people into the space. And today it's grown into a full-fledged business. Not only that, I think it's disrupting completely how people think about the office in general. What we see is the office is going to become a place for collaboration versus a fixed desk type of setup. And also there's a lot more workers that are gig, remote, and they need infrastructure sometimes during the week to do work that's outside of their home, and this is actually going to be able to provide that.
But competition is also growing for you, right? Like I just crossed 2 office locations on the way. There are many more, I wouldn't even name, but what are you doing differently to stay relevant, to stay on top of your game?
I think we've, been very sure about our place in the entire segment. So we continue to be the mid to premium player, I would say, and you can see that with the quality of our space and the quality of our customers as well. Why we attract some of the best multinationals is because of the experience and the space that we provide. So our focus is to give the best product and service that we possibly can and continue to
keep your fingers crossed.
No, I'd continue to innovate, and I think long term, people see value in that, and that's why I think are doing so well. That being said, I think that our competitors also deserve a little bit of credit. Without them, the segment itself wouldn't have grown the way that it is. I think, Flex has now become a permanent part of commercial real estate, and each one of them is providing a niche within the space. It might be low cost, it might be tier 2, it might be enterprise only. And we've taken a conscious decision that we will be a platform that provides products across the board. But we will continue to
So everybody is going to have their niches, but you're going to be a jack of all trades.
Exactly.
Okay, on that note, because we have to take a break, I'll quickly ask you, like I said, it's been operationally a good year for you as we're entering 2023. You think business is going to be much better, profits are going to be higher, revenue is going to grow?
I mean, that's what we're planning for, but we've I would say become a lot more conservative than we might have been in year 1 and year 2.
In terms of your cash burn?
Yeah, just look, profitable growth is really what we've been on the path on for the last 2 years, actually, since sort of like COVID hit us, or even actually before that. That's been the focus. So our focus is really right now, customer experience, member experience, our product, and the bottom line. So we have no reason to chase any type of growth numbers or, some expansion numbers for the sake of chasing it. We're going to be focused on building a very strong, steady business. It is a business that actually grows a lot faster than, some of the others, just because of the nature of it, we want to take advantage of that. So focus is going to be where we're maturing and we're focused on making sure our unit economics stay quite steady.
Okay, so we have a few more questions for you, but we have to take a short break.
Okay.
So we'll be right back in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. I'm in conversation with Karan Virwani. WeWork on this special episode of The Weekender. Karan, thanks very much for staying with us. Tell us about the trends that you're seeing post-pandemic in the demand for workspace. Are startups asking for more space, less space? Commercially, how has it been?
So we've seen, the complete behavioral change happen in terms of how companies are sort of looking at their workspace, from being a place where every employee had a fixed desk and a row of, seats and tables, to becoming spaces that are a lot more dynamic and more conducive for collaboration and people actually using the office as a social hub and as an identity of their organization. days in the week where teams are actually coming in or people are coming in to do these in-person interactions or to huddle as a team and have, problem solve or, do town halls that is going to help build culture. So one, the office is becoming much more for collaboration and culture. We are seeing that, there's a difference in different sectors. So in Mumbai and, in the financial sector, everyone is pretty much back in the office. Some of the banks, the guys never even left the office. Whereas, in Bangalore, some of the tech companies are facing a challenge in bringing people back to an office in a permanent basis, and I think that's what's giving rise to this hybrid model.
Yeah.
So, through the pandemic, we came out with these products like WeWork On Demand and our All Access product, which basically gives individuals or companies the ability to come to an office when they want and not actually carry that cost on for so long. That's taken off so much, and I think it's a lot to do, and it's a transitionary way of bringing sort of employees back.
We want to know who you are outside of WeWork. So let me start by asking you, who is Karan Virwani, if not the CEO of WeWork?
I am someone who loves the outdoors. I love doing anything that involves, being in nature. So trekking, or I grew up horse riding. I used to be a national level horse rider.
Oh. Okay.
My passion is heavily into food. I love food in any way. My first business was, an F&B hospitality business.
Oh, that's nice.
And both me and my wife, whenever we travel, that's how our whole trip is planned. It's just basically around restaurants and what we're going to eat, and pretty much that. And as a family, we've been within the real estate business for the last 30 years. So I think I've grown up in this kind of environment.
You actually did take that advice and have your vision on the long-term goals. What are they? Will you continue to be? Do you see yourself at WeWork, or do you see yourself going back to the family business? Where will you be?
I think this is something that my journey, I think, generally is to try to build things that will last longer than me. So, whether it's WeWork or, 10 years later, whether it's something completely different. My nature is to be an entrepreneur, to build things from ground up. I think that's what excites me the most. So,
but do you see yourself going back to embassy, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, it's my, it's our family business, and I am also the eldest of 3 brothers.
Okay.
So I am already sort of involved, at a high level, and it's such a great platform that's allowed us to build businesses similar to WeWork, that the opportunities that will come in the future to do stuff from that platform is also invaluable.
All right, Karan, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.